Hi everyone, I'm Antoinette van Zyl of Enartis South Africa, and today we'll discuss tools to enhance and drive wine style. So first of all, how can we define wine style? I think that's such a loaded question, way too big for one slide or even one presentation, but just a few parameters that are at play. First of all, varietal characteristic, for example, Riesling, Cabernet Sauvignon, Muscat, which is so unmistakable in the character that they bring forth. Then aromas and flavors, which are either formed during fermentation or through oak aging. Is your wine fruity, floral, citrus, oaky? And how is the acid balance? Another very important factor. This can be hugely impacted by harvest date, whether or not you perform MLF or how the wine is stabilized, what acid additions are made also. How is the sweetness of the wine, actual or perceived? How is the mouthfeel, crisp, soft, or structured? And what is the general impression of the wine? Is it minerally in the case of some whites? Is it New World style? Is it Old World style? So yes, these are just a few general parameters. So aromatic compounds are very important to look at. One of these examples are C13 norisoprenoids. Examples of them are beta-ionone, beta-damascenone, and TDN. Depending on which one of them, they will either impart violet or raspberry characters, apple, honey, ripe fruit, rose, and in the case of some aged Riesling, they have that very characteristic petrol character, which is because of TDN. Terpenes are second aromatic compound. Examples of that is linalool, nerol, and geraniol. The nerol and geraniol can impart that typical powerful rose character, and linalool can even sometimes have a coriander-like character. These kind of aromas are typical to Riesling, Gewürztraminer, and Muscat. A third group of aromatic compounds are althiols, very largely researched over the years. They are almost synonymous with some Sauvignon Blanc. They can come from conjugated precursors that are cysteine or glutathione bound in grapes. And the aromatic description that derives from their content in the wine is tomato leaf, blackcurrant, cat's urine, passion fruit, grapefruit, exotic fruit, guava, etc. These conjugated precursors, which are first odourless, needs to be liberated by yeast with a beta lyase action, and we will later get to which yeasts can help us do that. Then looking more towards secondary aroma creation during fermentation, amino acids can be important building blocks to form higher alcohols and later esters. This is one example where phenylalanine is a free amino acid which can, through a series of interaction or reactions, form phenylethanol, giving us a rose character. How can we extract precursors from the grape? We can do that by means of two of our very good enzymes, Zyme for whites. They have a pectinase, hemicellulase, cellulase, and protease action. The protease being very helpful to decrease bentonite need later on in the wine. Zyme Color Plus also has those enzymatic actions and can also be very beneficial for long-term color stability. Now that we've extracted aroma precursors, how can we further enhance aromatic precursors by adding certain products? In the case of norisoprenoids and terpenes, we can do this by adding tan citrus for whites, and we can do that by adding tan red fruit and Encanto Range cherry in some fruit-forward red wines. In the case of thiols, we have various glutathione sources. They are Tanarom, Pro Blanco, which is a polysaccharide with sulfur-containing amino acids, and free manoproteins. And then Pro FP, which is a polysaccharide with free manoproteins and glutathione, also in combination with PVI-PVP. The PVI-PVP fraction then decreases copper and iron, which are catalysts in your oxidation reaction. So apart from giving the must more glutathione to form thiols, you can also really improve the shelf life of the wine and preserve the aromas that are formed. And last but not least, we have Encanto Range white, which is also in combination with some oak-derived and acacia wood-derived tannins. Then free amino acids can be added to the must by adding a rehydration nutrient called NutriFerm Arom Plus. So various enzymatic actions that are inside yeast are needed to free some of these aroma precursors into odorous, volatile forms. In case of norisoprenoids and terpenes, which are bound to sugar in the grape, we need beta-glycosidase action that are prevalent in some of our yeasts. And then for thiols, we need a beta-lyase action to free the thiols and make them volatile. And in the case of free amino acids, we need an alcohol acetyl transferase action in the yeast to form higher alcohols and esters. So on our range, the yeast that you would be looking at for these various enzymatic activities, in the case of beta-glycosidase, you need vintage white, ES181 or Q citrus. And in the case of red wines, ES454. For acetyl transferase activity, you can use ES181, or for red wines, red fruit and ES454. And for the beta-lyase activity, you can use ES181 or aroma white for beautiful Sauvignon Blancs, for example. And then in the case of reds, you can use ES488. Now, you might wonder, why is a yeast needed, or why is thiols important for red wines? We actually have a protocol called the Ripen Up protocol, which can help us form 3MH from C6 aldehydes, which would have given you grassy green characters. But because you now have 3MH, you get a more spicy, dark fruit kind of profile. So in the following slides, I will give some examples of protocols you can follow to create certain styles. In the case of thiolic varieties, we have touched on many of these now in the last slides, but just to sum it all up, you can use Zyme Arom MP as a maceration enzyme, combine that with Zyme RS for a settling enzyme. As a rehydration nutrient, you can use Arom Plus. You can use as a tannin polysaccharide combo Tan Arom. You can use as a yeast either Ferm ES181, Ferm Aroma White, or Ferm THL, which is a brand new yeast on our range. As a yeast polysaccharide and a glutathione source, you can add either Pro Blanco or Pro FT, or keep an eye out for NutriFerm X, which will be available soon as a very revolutionary and powerful source of thiol precursors. Then citrus style, look again at Zyme Arom MP and Zyme RS. As a rehydration nutrient, Arom Plus. As a yeast, Ferm Q citrus. And as a tannin, Tan citrus. For a fruit-forward style red wine, you can look at Color Plus as an enzyme. You can look at NutriFerm Arom Plus as a rehydration nutrient. Yeast, you can decide between 454 and red fruit. And as a tannin or an alternative thereof, you can look at Tan red fruit or Incanto NC cherry. To create a varietal premium style red wine, you can use Zyme Color Plus, NutriFerm Energy as a rehydration nutrient. As a yeast, you can choose either Vintage Red or Ferm WS. And as a yeast polysaccharide, you can use Pro Uno, which will really help to give body and a velvety finish. And also the free manoproteins contained in Pro Uno will further help you preserve aromatic compounds formed during fermentation. And the manoproteins will also help with overall stability throughout the life of the wine. And yes, that was just in a nutshell what we can do to help you form certain wine styles. Of course, color stability and all the tannins that go along with that was not discussed in this specific presentation. But please feel free to contact your Enartis rep for more specific dosage instructions, and happy harvesting.